Today, just a few hours ago, Bitcoin solidly bounced off support and took a strong leap forward, right as everyone was really starting to feel and finally turn bearish. Now, is this the beginning of the parabolic run we have been looking for, that we have been talking about? I suspect that it might be. This market really plays with your emotions, so I really want to believe this. Some of me says, don't get your heart set on it though. What is interesting is last night I was making some moves into Ecomi, Spores, VRA, and some of the tokens that we've been talking about on this channel because prices were so down on those. I was just like, they're savage, and maybe they get savage more, but I'm just really happy with these prices. And I was preparing in case we had another strong leg down with a little more cash on the sidelines. Well, we may not get that stronger leg down, and if we don't, darn it. I guess we will have to live with the bottom having been in and the parabolic run starting now. Now, I'm still hoping for another few days of even cheaper prices, but if not, that's okay. That's fine. How are you in the audience feeling today? Did the market push you down, kick you while you were down, and then kick you 5 times more while you were down? Because isn't that what it feels like? This is often a sign that this little winter storm we have been having is ready to relent. Just when it feels like it will never relent is when it usually does. That's why my spidey senses have been tingling for scooping up some more that is on heavy discounts. Today, let's talk about whether this break of this trend line is signaling the bottom of this mini winter storm that we have been having and that we are finally off to the races. Let's also talk about Metamalls. Is it going to be, it's like a metaverse mall, and this token is launching soon on February 8th. It's launching on GameStation specifically, as well as some other launch pads, but we know GameStation, and so I know that it's launching there. Their Twitter space also has some other places looking, and we'll look a little bit deeper on that. We'll also look at some of the heavy discounts that I've been scooping up on since yesterday. Welcome to the Crypto Rain channel. I'm your host, Jay Rain, and if you like money in crypto and you're looking for a real investor's take on the crypto market, join the Rainmaker family by liking this video and subscribing with that all notifications bell enabled. Special note, I'm not a financial advisor. Sorry to disappoint you. I am a crypto investor myself, sharing with you how I think about the crypto market and specific cryptos I like. For myself, crypto has taken my portfolio from thousands to millions, and I share with you the Rainmaker system that I created that leads to amazing results over time. Note, I do own or plan to own most of what I talk about on this channel because I simply don't talk about cryptos that I don't believe in or like. We also want to thank our Patreon members. We have a private Discord that our Patreon members get access to, and we just completed our Friday pre-live stream show with our Patreon members where we were able to interact and talk. Really enjoyed the talk with a lot of you, Abe and Chris, and Stardust was on there. Arzo, thank you all for joining us. Many more. It is a closed group, and there I'm able to discuss even more than I can because it is a private setting. When you join us there, you will find out what I'm talking about. Now, sometimes it says at the beginning of our show, a sponsor disclaimer, that there's sponsored content on this. This is because of our strategic relationship with Wanchain and Kitsumon, who have been good to us, and part of our strategic relationship, they have given us extra goodies to give away. Every month we give away 500 won, and Kitsumon is giving us a load of their NFTs to give away to the audience. So, if you haven't already, make it rain on that like button and strap in for the show, and let's welcome our producer, D-Money, joining me in the Crypto Rain Command Center.
Hey, what up, Jay? How's it going, man?
Fan-frickin-tastic.
Fan-frickin-tastic indeed. And what's up to Bearish Bull, Chris Ashby, Web Zombies, Jerry, Jester's Rune, Dougie Collinson, Stardust Runner. We got the usual suspects in the chat hanging out already. It's cool to see. It's fun to look at the bottom at that ticker and see, like, virtually like all green. I think I saw like Mouse Haunt was down, and like freaking Mouse Haunt, come on, go green. The whole market's green. So yeah, let's get the party started, should we?
Let's do it. Join me, Rainmakers. So, today we're going to give away some Wanchain, so stay tuned for that. No rain, no gain, right? Bitcoin's breakout, that was fun to see this morning. Now, I'm going to share with you my chart, and we're going to take a look at. We were looking at this just the other day, and we saw it break out here, right? And then it came back and retested. Now, sometimes when it retests, it breaks back in and then continues in there, and sometimes it bounces up. And so, as of this, it's showing at 2100. I'm not sure what time frame it's using for that. It bounced up and has been going parabolic. In fact, since just a couple hours ago, I mean, look at that. That's just a few candles. So in the last 3 hours, it's just gone up. Now, where it's going to, let me show you this chart. It's hitting this really strong resistance. See this line here? In fact, let me put in this line. This is what it is having a hard time breaking through, is right here. And so we've got resistance from this previous low. It's bounced off of that a couple times at this high, and if we extend this all the way back, so that's going to be really strong resistance. It's kind of like shooting a tank with a 9mm. It's probably going to bounce off of that, but it could go through. Now, if it does, that is a really, really bullish sign. And if it doesn't, well, what will it do? It could then trend and use this as support. We're not quite sure where it's going to go from here. What I do know is, or know is an interesting word, because I don't have a magic crystal ball. I can't see into the future. I just play probabilities. I'm not a financial advisor. So the probabilities tell us there's still another strong leg of the bull run waiting for us, and the probabilities are high that it is. Now, what we don't know is exactly when that's going to happen, but my spider senses are telling me it's coming soon. That's exciting. Now, taking a look at this market in general, look at all this green. If I were to pull up at CoinGecko, and let's just go to here. Ooh, look at this. ETH up. These are layer 1 blockchains are up huge in the last 7 days. ETH is up 22%. Solana up 21%. Avalanche up 17%. Wrapped Bitcoin is only up 12%. D and I were laughing about that. Bitcoin is up 8.7%, and wrapped Bitcoin is up 12%. Chainlink up 11.6%. Near Protocol up 18%. Good job to them. And Lido, staked Ether, which I have no idea what that is up 21%. But look at all that green. Well, that's encouraging. So now let's not bet the whole farm that it's turning around here, because sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes there'll still be more shakeouts. It could come down to these support levels, and who knows, it could break through them. But what I felt comfortable with is that overall this was a great buying opportunity. Now you're hearing from somebody who, when Cardano was coming down during the bear market, and I was loading up on Cardano because, in my opinion, it was one of the surest bets of what would do really well in the coming couple years. I started loading up at 12 cents. I bought a little bit, and then at 9 cents, and then 8 cents, and then 6 cents. And so I was just loading up. Now, we then later learned that the bottom of it was 1.7 cents. And it would have been nice if I could have had a magic crystal ball to know exactly where the bottom is, but that's not how trading works. Timing the exact bottom is very, very hard. So what I do personally is I find levels that are acceptable for me, and we will get into some of the charts of some of the ones I'm going to talk about later outside of Bitcoin, because I'm definitely not buying Bitcoin. I'm in the riskier alts because I like those kind of risks.
I swear on my life, I am not putting the siren into the stream, Jay. We've got, they're after you. I don't know.
Yeah, oh my gosh.
In the market or something, man.
Let me think about what I did, or what of all the things that I've done they could have figured out about. Just kidding. All right, so it's exciting what they're doing. Now, on February 2nd, just 2 days ago, I shared that my thought was we will take a look back at February 2nd in a few months and wish that we could buy at those prices again. Now, on February 3rd, I was really thinking about the market, and I decided to take another risky bet. I sold off a lot of one of my blue chips that's down 67%. And you're like, Jay, I thought you don't believe in selling when things are down. Well, in this certain case, I do, because it was down 67%, but I was rolling that into some of the high risk altcoins that were down 80 to 96%. And I'm curious to see how that plays out. I'm really comfortable with that choice myself. I'm not advising you to take the risky choices that I do. My risk tolerance is fairly high. But today I do want to talk about timing and how timing plays an important role in our gains and our losses. Now that we are seeing some of the patterns pretty clearly, it is a great day to talk about timing and specifically vesting schedules. Now, you won't get this on a lot of other channels. I don't know, maybe they don't think about things like this. My mind thinks about value, and it thinks about the economics behind token price like all the time, whether I want it to or not. So I'm going to share with you some thoughts that I don't know, I've never seen really on another channel. So hopefully it's informative to all of you. Let me see how we're doing in the live chat. Who's in here? Dr. Stuff says, let's go. Hopefully you guys are catching the live streams with Dr. Stuff on Wednesdays. We have been talking about moving it up a couple hours so that more people can catch it live rather than on the replay. But Dr. Stuff joins us because he is one of the top people in keeping tabs on what is happening in the VV ecosystem. In fact, I often turn to him because I haven't been putting as much time per day in to stay on top of what happens on VV because it changes. There's so much change happening there all the time. So he's bringing all of us the top alpha on Wednesdays on what's going on with VV and the VV-verse and Ecomi in general. So what's up, Dr. Stuff? Thanks for joining us. Let's see, Gestures Rune, who was on the pre-live stream, appreciated your words there. If it doesn't rain, then it will shine. Johnny McGovern says, let's go. Randy Crypto Savage, love that name, says, hello world. All right. So there is a project I want to talk to you about today that I'm very interested in, but I'm having a hard time pulling the trigger on it because of market timing. And so today is a great day to talk about market timing, even on great projects. And that amazing project I wanted to talk about today is Immutable X. Now, who's heard of Immutable X in the live stream joining us? Pretty much every one of you, probably. Maybe you haven't gotten an in-depth review on it, though, but you've heard of it. Now, Immutable X, really, there was a game that came out about 2.5 years ago called Gods Unchained. And if you haven't heard of it, it's a player type. It's like a card game. I'm forgetting Magic the Gathering online, I think, or Magic the Gathering, like the game. It's kind of like that, right? So it's a combat card type game that you're playing one-on-one against another player. And Coinbase was one of the early backers of this, and I bought heavily into that. But they got savaged. Gods Unchained, the tradability got savaged during the 2020, like June 2020 pump that happened because the DeFi summer, the Ethereum chain got so savaged because Ethereum prices went way up that you couldn't trade a $5 card when you had a $35 transaction fee on the Ethereum network, right? So the team behind this really went to work on how to solve this problem. They solved the problem by creating their own layer 2 solution, which is now known as Immutable X. So they had big backers like Coinbase because this became a problem. It really interrupted people being able to get their cards because everything on Ethereum was so expensive. And so their solution was to build the Immutable X chains. Now, it recently launched. In fact, I was doing some research on it. I wasn't able to get into the pre-sale myself. I would have loved to be able to get into the pre-sale of it. I was lucky to get airdropped or whatever some tokens because I was one of the early. I bought a whole bunch of Gods Unchained packs, Genesis packs, and so if you held a lot of Genesis cards, then they airdropped you some IMX tokens. And so I did have some IMX tokens. I do not presently. Essentially, I had a family emergency come up the last couple of days, and so I sold my IMX tokens, which I was airdropped, and I cashed them out in order to pay for the family situation. Essentially, My wife and I got custody of my 4 of my kids over the past few weeks. So if you notice like some more gray hairs, my stress level is higher. That's the reason behind it. And so I had to then sell off something. So I sold off those tokens. And as much as I sold them off, like I had to sell something and everything was down. And so that got cut on the roster. Not because I don't believe in it. I believe that this is one of the biggest projects that's out there right now that's going to do well. And so what is really good to talk about timing, because I hate being out of it and I'm looking for where to re-enter. So I thought I would talk about that in the context with you, and let me share with you my thoughts. I haven't re-entered to buy some more yet. His price went close to $10, went to $9.31, and then has corrected all the way down to under $3. Now, there was a big announcement, and I'll find that announcement in a bit, between Immutable X and GameStop.
Yeah.
Stop. And they formed a partnership. And I haven't gotten a chance to go through what the partnership entails, but what a great partnership as video games launch. It would be great for a lot of these video games that launch to get exclusive NFTs. Think if you could get exclusive Call of Duty skins. If you buy it, say at GameStop, and then you can redeem the code on the Immutable X site or something, and then you can get these NFTs. I mean, that would be a fantastic use for everyone. So this partnership is a big deal, but only somewhat big. Like if GameStop just like, oh, we're going to release GameStop NFTs. I don't know about you, but I don't really care about GameStop NFTs.
Yeah, you can get a logo, like a...
If you're talking about Halo
logo,
NFTs,
yeah.
The first Master Chief NFT, yeah, I'm in. Call of Duty, like some really cool, yeah, I'm in. Even if I don't play Call of Duty anymore, like I might again in the future, just the collector side of me, I'm in. If it's a GameStop logo, I'm out. I mean, maybe if they make it with gold and make it spin and make 20 of them and I get one of them, yeah, I'm in. But, yeah, so I'm... The details of this, unfortunately, I just ran a prep time this morning to be able to read through at a deeper level what's going on with that partnership. But that caused the price to pump up here, and it took a leg up, and it's correcting down. Now, why in the world would the price of something that I think is going to be gigantic, why would it be going down? Interesting, right? Just want to let that set in for a second. Why would it be going down? It's backed by Coinbase. In fact, there's some really, really important things that are going on here. One of the most important things that they have going on is their partnership with Vivi. And I don't think everyone realizes, probably you in the audience do, I don't think everyone else realizes how big this is. They're getting the very biggest names coming over to them. If you think about it, Disney, Marvel, DC Comics, Star Wars, Star Trek, DreamWorks Studio, Back to the Future's DeLorean, the stamp collection, which for stamp collectors, like when they start getting into digital stamps, that is a very big deal, and other huge names. Didn't you see that announcement? Well, that's going to happen because Ecomi is bringing over their NFTs to Immutable X. So they didn't make a specific announcement on that, but reading between the lines, that's exactly what's happening. Now, the reason that I want to talk about this today is this discussion on timing. When a project launches, there's often a lot of pent-up demand, and the token supply is extremely squeezed into a really small circulating supply that puts pressure on it to initially pump, and it did. It pumped all the way to about $10 as Immutable X was on everyone's mind. But why would something with such huge potential be declining in price? I mean, that market cap's even really small compared to where it could be. Well, part of the reason is this versus this, right? Over time, as tokens are released to pre-sale investors, as well as what they call ecosystem tokens, then there are also team tokens that are sometimes released. That puts sell pressure down on the price, and we've seen that in a lot of projects over the past 12 months. That some of the times they get this initial pump, and then there's usually a big retracement period. And how cheap it goes, well, it's hard to tell. But even something as powerful as Immutable X, which I think this chain is super powerful, this is going to do really big things and probably going to be one of the projects that is possibly around 20 years from now. So I'm very, very bullish on it, and it was very hard to sell those tokens, but sometimes you have family situation, you need to. I do fully intend to get some more back, but I'm just deciding to wait, and here's the reason I'm deciding to wait. I was able to do some research, and I found this, and I literally put in Immutable X pre-sale price, and was able to then find this, which ICO Drops does have a lot of information. So they raised 13,000 through their token, or 13 million through their token sale. The token sale investors are way, way up. Their initial token sale price was 15 cents. So still it's trading way, way up from what the initial token sale price was. But what's interesting about this is I was able to come down here and get one of my favorite things if I can get my hands on it. I can't always get my hands on it. And this is the token supply vesting schedule. And what do you see here? Well, you see a lot of ecosystem tokens coming in and being released and probably sold so that the ecosystem can fund its own development. Okay, the foundation looks like they get some tokens released to them, and we also see investors are getting some releases released to them. And right at the 11-month mark or 12-month mark, bam, a huge amount more is coming into it. So you're going to see a steady increase of the tokens in circulation over time. And so that's putting downward pressure on this. Now,
so Jay, what's the date of the IDO on that one?
Yeah, coming back here, let's look at the date on the IDO, because they usually will go off of this date. Sometimes it's the token generation event, sometimes it's this date, so I don't know specifically on Immutable X if they're using this date as essentially day 0. But it looks like the 15th of September. So then we have October, November, December, January, 15th of February will be 5 months. So there might be 7 more months of that. And that might put them solidly into the crypto winter before really a lot of those tokens are out. So this is one that, now, do keep in mind that if this leg of the bull market that I'm thinking is coming comes, the little bit of sell pressure from this isn't going to matter. It's still going to pump tremendously. Back in the ICO boom of 2017, many of the projects sold at their public sale 70% of their tokens, which were then immediately released to their people once it was open on an exchange. And perhaps 30% were held for team and ecosystem that were then released slowly. Today, public sales are usually very small. The pre-sale portion is much larger, but that comes with larger lockups investing, as well as you have ecosystem releases like this. And so usually that first year, or sometimes 2 years or 3 years, you see this drip of pressure down on the price. Now, if the market goes parabolic, this drip of pressure doesn't matter, and it'll still go crazy. It does put some, this token vesting does put some downward pressure on the token prices, but when that buying pressure is really high, it doesn't stop it from going crazy. It just stops it from going as crazy. Now, I've been wondering exactly how this will play out for many of the new projects that I've entered during this phase of the bull run as we hit this massive parabolic move. And I can't say I know exactly how it will play out, because this new idea of how they've been structuring the token releases is really new as of 18 months. Just this does put this pressure, and I want to have this conversation with you today as something to be aware of. This isn't enough pressure to hold it back, though, as we hit a massive parabolic run. But what I'm looking for is maybe I'll get a little bit more of a cheaper price, because this pressure before Immutable X is ready to run. But it would be a strong case against holding it past 5 months from now, right, is some big releases, some big unlocks happen right here, and likely to savage the price. Now, is this one I absolutely want to keep an eye on during the crypto winter, that, somewhere around here? Abso-freaking-lutely. I mean, during the crypto winter, it'll be tapering, and we'll see some really good buys. And while I was doing my research today, we came across some data that added up to some things I really wanted to share with you and some insights. One of the questions on my mind has been, why has Ecomi's price not pumped way higher than where it's at? Why has it been held down for so long? I want to see what you guys think in the chat. They have had Disney, they've had Marvel. Okay, so from their lows, they hit all the way at 0.15 cents, a little bit below 0.15 cents. So it's still up, but why hasn't it gone way above this? It should have blasted way higher than this. Will IMX become irrelevant after ETH 2.0 comes out? Good question, Chris. Can we throw in there if ETH 2.0 comes out? Right? Like, when will it come out? I don't know. Might become less relevant, but then as we see even greater load on the Ethereum main chain, and we have tons and tons of people on it, won't we still see the price increases happen again? Is now 500 million people are using it, and then 1 billion. And so won't there maybe always be a place for these side chains, especially that focus on NFTs and gaming, off of the main Ethereum chain? I would think so. Limited connection. So Stardust Run says limited connection between Omi and Vivi at the moment. There is a disconnect. Market cap already 1 billion probably. All really good answers, Web Zombies. Thank you for that.
Yeah, Ryan S says no big exchange listing. Tokenomics still doesn't connect to Vivi, says Jester's Rune.
Those are all pieces of this equation for sure. I found another piece as I was researching today. I want to share with you that I hadn't seen this. Now, I did invest in the pre-sale of Ecomi in 2018, but I don't remember any of the details back then from the pre-sale. I remember reading through it back then, but as I was doing my research, I found this. Did you know that some big unlocks started happening at Q1 2021, but really in Q2 2021, Q3 2021, and Q4 2021? And might that not explain what's held down the price far? It should have gone far higher than it has, and yet it hasn't. But isn't that, see, team and founders tokens right here. Bam. Now it's tapering off Q1 2022 and staying the same. In fact, it looks like this chart is even decreasing a little bit, and that's probably because of the burn that's happening. And from the token sale, right? And so I think that's why these graphs are getting a little bit smaller, because they're factoring in some token burn. So what's interesting is the circulating supply has been jumping up a bunch because of these unlocks. And then it all makes sense when we factor in actually all the very good points that you brought up too. I was like, that makes sense. So I did sell some of my blue chip cryptos that I very much believe in, and I think it's going to 10x or maybe 15x from here. But what I sold it for is for some things that I hope will do much better than that from here. And so one of the things that I made a whole bunch of extra purchases in was the Omi token. And I've been talking about it for days, and in my mind I've been thinking, everything's down. I want to buy a lot more Omi tokens. What am I willing to sacrifice to buy Omi? And I identified what that was, and it's a project I very much believe in, I very much love. And it's Cardano, and I love Cardano, and I believe where it's going to do fantastic. I think it's going to be one of the big ecosystems. So this was just an investment decision. If I believe Cardano can go to $10 or $15, but I believe Ecomi can possibly 30x or 100x from here or more, wouldn't I be dumb to keep such a big position still in Cardano rather than diversifying further out of that and load up on Ecomi and some other projects that I think they're at these amazing lows that I can do really well at? Now, if you're looking for where to trade this, there's a few places you can use, but I recommend you take a look at Gate.io. And the reason is we've been able to create a referral link with them that allows you to get 20% of your own trading commissions back, but you can also trade it on Bit4X or OKX. Any one of these could get hacked, so do be aware that that is a risk if you're holding your tokens on these. Who knows, major exchanges do get hacked, and so that is a risk. Pretty soon you'll be able to move them over to your wallet. In fact, you can even today, move them through your wallet. That is outside of the scope of what we're going to be talking about today, how to do that, but you can Google how to do that and move them over to your own wallets, and then take those risks on yourself so that they're not vulnerable to a centralized exchange hack. But if you're looking at where to get it, we have a link down below for Gate.io, which will give you some of your commissions back as you use it. So that was something I put a whole bunch of money into. Some other purchases I made. This is a purchase I almost made. I haven't yet. I talked about this a lot when the price was way down at 60 cents and 40 cents down here. And this is when I was saying, Ultra, keep your eyes on it. It's done amazing. It's done amazing. I took profits when it went crazy here. And the reason I did isn't because I don't believe in it, is because there were other things that their price was savaged. And so it's not that I was taking profits out of the ecosystem, but I was trading my winners to buy other things that their price was way down. And it turned out fortunate, because then it's corrected some. Now, I do expect this will correct more, and that's why I haven't bought back in. But keep an eye on this one. This is going to be a decentralized competitor to Steam, and I think they're well positioned to win. It's just not quite steep enough. So I did put that on my radar to really analyze and see if I was ready to buy. The answer to that was no, not yet. Hopefully more pain happens first. But one I did say yes to was Verasity. And Verasity is one that, if you follow this channel for a long time, we talked about back when it was really cheap in March. And it went crazy, and I took profits. Unfortunately for me, I took it completely out. I didn't buy back in here, and it did go even higher. But to me, this is looking like a good re-entry point for me. Now, can it go lower from here? Yeah, it can break through this resistance, come down even lower. For me, that was a very acceptable entry point that I'm very excited about. They've done a lot of partnerships and other things to be the future of esports digital entertainment and ad tech on the blockchain. So I've just seen them continuing to deliver and hitting their milestones. So I'm really excited to be buying them at another low, even though it didn't go to its previous lows, or especially down to these lows. But for me, that was a buy point that I was like, okay, it's good enough. I'm buying in. You guys know some of my other picks, or you would know because the channel, I talk about these projects and how cheap they've been. And that's AIOZ. So they're trying to be a decentralized competitor to YouTube, and that's a very big undertaking. They have AIOZ Tube, as well as a lot of other things that they're developing. They have a very strong team. Their price has been savage because of token vesting schedules. I was really disappointed when it started taking off here because I hadn't loaded up as much as I wanted. And I've been very pleased that it came back to a price that I wanted to buy at. I was tempted to buy here, but I was like, nah, I just don't chase the boats that I miss. And so often these boats come back to the shores for you, or come back to the dock, and sure enough, this one did. So that got some of my additional investment capital, and I'm very excited about that one, that I was able to load up more. Another one that I loaded up more on, I don't think I brought this up already, but you could have guessed this from my last couple of weeks I've been talking about it. Spores Network. In fact, it has such low trading volume. Perhaps part of this wick was caused by me. This is tradable on Gate.io. It's also on PancakeSwap and Uniswap. Just Gate.io made more sense for me to buy it, but really cheap cost to buy it on PancakeSwap. Just not cheap cost to transact on Uniswap. And so I may have been part of causing that wick on Spores because I loaded up yesterday, and then I woke up this morning and I was like, I just need more. So anyway, just sharing with you some thoughts. Now, if you are part of the Patreon, I think the gold level, I do and have been posting my trades in there. So there's a specific J trades part of that where you can see. And when I make these trades, I just simply make that I'm purchasing or I'm selling. Is usually where I post it. Now, I didn't post on there the trading or the selling of the Immutable X because that was actually a surprise. I didn't even know I had some until like 3 weeks ago, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I got airdropped a bunch of Immutable X. Holy cow.
Yeah, it
for
was
holding
bananas. I couldn't believe it when you told me, and then, it's, how would it be, man?
Yeah, right. And what's funny is I do believe in a man upstairs, right? And it's like this nice thing, because I don't want to cut into, I don't like selling when I'm low. But, this big change, there was some expenses related to that change, able to get custody of my kids. And my ex-wife was just really struggling, and so she actually asked us to step in and take custody of them and stuff. And so adding 4 kids into your life, though, woo, boy. So, I've been their dad, and I go visit them all the time where they're at, because they've been a long distance from me. But she just was struggling, and so it was time for her to send them to live with me. So that was a great blessing in everyone's lives. But I was like, man, I hadn't allocated a lot of resources for this. So Immutable X, thank you, because then I allocated a lot of resources for taking on 4 more kids for the next year.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, really, how that worked out.
Yeah, but I am sad to be out of Immutable X, right? And so some of these other things, there's lots of things that I could sell. It's just painful for me to sell at lows. It just deeply pains me, right? I just don't do it. It's when I'm trying to buy more, not sell, as you're seeing today what I'm talking about. And I had to sacrifice something in order to get other things. And you always hate for what you had to sacrifice, because Cardano's going to do really well. So it's like, but these, in my opinion, are going to do even better. Now, there was something I saw on Twitter that I was blown away enough on. I wanted to bring it up again. I've talked about Metamalls a little bit, and we'll talk about it more in depth today. But check out this video I want to share with you. Now, Blocktopia came out, and they did bananas bonkers numbers. They went like 800x from their IDO price. And Metamalls is a competitor to them, but with a lot better VR and augmented reality background than the team at Blocktopia has, at least in my opinion. And so this is an interesting one. And they did this video that I just needed to share with you guys, because it's amazing. When I watched this, I was like, yeah, I want to share this. This is cool. I mean, just the quality of this versus Decentraland. This is the kind of quality we've been waiting for, right? Now, I don't know if this mall concept is going to work. I remember reading Blocktopia stuff long before they launched, and I was like, I just don't know what to think about the whole mall concept in the VR and whether it'd do well. And sure enough, Blocktopia did like 800x, and I was like, well, okay, I guess that's proven that there's a lot of belief behind it. So it's interesting, Metamalls comes out and they're just nailing it with this space. Of course, their background is just solid in the space. And we'll talk about that. Like, for many of you who grew up in the 80s and 90s, we all used to enjoy these things called the malls, right? One of the things you would do is you'd go with your friends and you'd go to the mall. And they'd have an arcade, they would have like a place that you could eat. Some of the real young generation, you're like, what? You guys actually went to the mall? Because you might not do that. But there you would go to like GameStop and shop for new video games. You would just go look at the styles. You'd go to the movie theater that's there. You would interact with friends.
Buy some CDs.
Yeah, even before that, you'd buy cassette tapes and records.
Yeah, well, now you're really dating yourself.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I would buy CDs.
You're about 6 years behind me, I think. So.
I would sit there with like 2 CDs in my hand, because you had heard like the one song on the radio, and you're like, oh, I really like that song, but it was like $17 for a CD. You had no idea what else was on the album, and you're just like, oh, which one should I buy? I'd freaking agonize over that crap. I'm getting anxiety thinking about it right now.
Yeah, right. So there were a lot of things that you could do. Now, today, you don't need to go to the mall so much, but this whole VR concept of having a centralized space in the metaverse, that makes sense if people are going to have these avatars, to give them a condensed area where the interaction can happen and maybe the shopping experiences. So I'm curious to see how this all comes together. Blocktopia really hit it out of the park with their price increases. Metamalls following in those coattails, but having a much better VR background. One to watch, and their IDOs will be coming soon, as well as some land sales. Now, some of the VCs that I know got an allocation. I was able to invest in Metamall myself. In fact, I know a few community members that were connected up with them were able to get in as well. They do have 4 key areas within their greater thought pattern of their ecosystem, which is shopping, entertainment, and then places for engagement as well as advertising. Obviously, shopping is designed to be interactive and immersive, so basically a place where you can try on anything and then buy it directly from the store. Entertainment is pretty much anything that developers continuously produce and update, from gaming to movies to museums. So I don't really know what the entertainment side is going to come together and really look like. Engagement will allow you to hang out with friends around the world in VR and a metaverse space, and we'll see if that gains traction. It might not, and then advertising will be available. If they do a good job with the entertainment and engagement, then their advertising component is going to be really successful because they'll have lots of eyeballs there, right? They'll have lots of people there, and so then the advertising spaces will have a premium. Now, as to the team itself, they're one of the most exciting parts of it. The co-founder, Sergey, I have no idea how to say his last name, Gianchandini, has a long history of entrepreneurship. He holds over 12 patents in the 3D and VR imagery, and has founded several companies with customers like Amazon, and grew his companies into multi-million-dollar businesses. Since Metamalls is in the VR-based metaverse, Sergey's knowledge as a business entrepreneur and developer is right out of the door, gives them a huge leg up on most of their competition. Like, he has 7 patents in this space. But they also have a strong leadership. Other advisors in the company include Sahan, who has a telecom and media experience in India, US, Africa, and Europe. Sundeep, who's with TrustSwap and also GameStation. Edward, I think I'm saying that right because the spelling is a little bit different, but he's an advisor to projects such as Citus. He's also an advisor to one of the projects we talked a lot about, Network, as well as Portal, and a new one coming out called Plutonian. Now, Maria, who is on their team or an advisor to them, is the head of PR for Polygon. And the list goes on. So it seems like they assembled the right team. You can see why I'm bullish on this. Watch for their IDOs coming up. In fact, they have an IDO coming up on GameStation. GameStation's tokens are extremely cheap right now. So I suggest you take a strong look at this and see if it's right for you. I haven't heard of any land sales on the launch pads yet. They're really just starting to line up their their token sales through the launch pads. And if we go to them, in fact, I saw they're launching on Moonstarter. I don't know that launch pad, but their tokens might be cheap now too. I do know GameStation. I hold some tokens from GameStation, and so you can get them on GameStation. That's one I know some of the people from the team for. So scrolling through, I usually give you there we go, February IDO schedule. February 8th on Metagames, then on, this is specific to Gaming World, has them on February 10th, Metamall. So usually Twitter is the place to check out exactly which IDOs they're having and when the dates are. So check out GameStation if you're looking to get this. If you're looking to research where to get it, come to their Twitter and start your journey there. A caution on it, like, it's still a fairly low number of followers. They've been out for a little bit. Blocktopia did everything they could to savage Metamalls when they launched. In fact, they got their original Twitter shut down because one of the designers from Metamalls had made a mistake. They hired an outside team, and they actually, some of their designs were really, really close to Blocktopia's look and feel and stuff. So Blocktopia was right to be mad about that and brought it to their attention, and then used that actually to get their Twitter shut down. As well as they wrote some really, really nasty messages and threats to Metamall, and they told any of their own private investors on Blocktopia that if they invested in Metamalls that they would refund them. And so they threatened to actually refund their allocations, which the price was very high up, and so that got a bunch of funds refunded to Metamalls. Now, I covered this like 2 weeks ago, this drama. I thought Blocktopia's responses were justified about 10%, and 90% of it was ridiculousness and somebody being very power hungry and abuse of power. And I thought Metamall's response, which was, oh my gosh, we're so sorry, we hadn't seen that correlation, but you're right. So we are having it redesigned by someone else immediately to correct that situation. Our apologies. That was a very that was the right way to handle it, and since then continue to handle it really well. So I don't know. I bet on this one. After seeing how they handled that controversy, I then bet big on Metamalls because I felt like they handled it really well, and that was enough for me. Whether you guys feel it's risky enough, realize there's that controversy out there, and who knows, so Blocktopia is trying to get anyone that they're associated with to not do any business with them, and that was a little bit effective, especially in the early days. However, Metamalls has the right background for them to crush it in this, and so that's why I personally bet big on them. Whether you do or not, really do your own research. There are definitely some risks there, and whether it's right for you, I don't know. They will have, specifically their token is the mall token, which makes sense, right? And that'll be usable in their space for like leasing space or for purchasing things and stuff. So, all right, that's enough about Metamalls.
Yeah, Jay, you want to hop over to the chat for a sec? Our buddy Bob, the builder, sent us a super chat a little while ago. He says, almost everyone is saying we're going to have mini bear markets from now on. Could that be possible if Bitcoin got beat by Ethereum and Bitcoin didn't have much of an effect on the market? Also love the streams.
Yeah, Bob, you have such great questions. I love your question. Thank you for the $10 super chat. We're seeing how this plays out. It's definitely changing, and altcoins are changing the whole cycle, right? Because Bitcoin, their price is dominated by the halving that happens, and Bitcoin used to completely set the whole trend. But as altcoins use cases are coming into play, it'll have less and less effect over time. So the answer to that is I don't know yet, but I suspect that we're still going to have a savage pullback that we'll call a crypto winter that'll be a little bit bigger and longer than these mini ones we had. And that has everything to do by how big this next leg of the bull market that I feel is coming is. If it's 3 to 4 times the size of what last March was, well, then it's going to have a savage as well as longer pullback. But if it's not that big and it's maybe just double the size of that, then the pullback won't be as steep or as long, right? So what tends to happen is things overboom and then they overbust. And when they bust, then people are just feel sick in their stomach, they panic sell out, they're mad that they lost money, and the prices in general take longer to recover because of the emotional sick feeling that people have when they think about cryptocurrency, because they played it all wrong, because they bought and sold like a retail investor does, and they didn't take the time to start to think like an investor so that they could time the market better. Because when you buy the top and sell the bottom, it makes you just feel sick, right? Even if they don't sell the absolute bottom, but they sell on the way down and they lose a bunch of money, then they have a hard time. They kind of shut off emotionally to it for a while before they'll take a look at it again. And that's why, if the spike is so severe, the retracement and the longevity of the retracement will be so severe as well. Great question.
Yeah, RetroArch brought this up when you were talking about Immutable X. GameStop Immutable X collaboration. It looks like they were offered close to $100 million worth of Immutable X, which they went ahead and dumped $30 million after the announcement. So that's crazy.
Dumped $30 million of the tokens?
Yeah, so you can see
so that
here.
explains why the price is down.
That explains quite a bit. Controversy-ridden GameStop might be looking at another outrage from the community after selling off $30 million worth of Immutable X tokens. So yeah, I mean that definitely explains it as well. But I think the vesting conversation is worth having, right?
Well, if you think about it, where did those tokens come from? They came from the ecosystem tokens that were being released to the project to be able to give to somebody like GameStop. And guess what happens to those ecosystem tokens? They often get used or traded for cash, and that's exactly what happened. But that's just finding out the specifics that happened. But once those become made available to the project, not always all of them, but a portion of them usually then get sold for cash, right? And so what does that do? Puts downward pressure on it. So that's interesting. As part of that, they were paid in IMX tokens, which then they liquidated and turned a third of that, 30% of that to cash. Can you blame them, though, if they're paid completely in tokens, and they're not like crypto investors necessarily, that they cashed out 30%? My surprise would be that they only cashed out 30%. because they're not necessarily traders or think like long-term investors. They're just thinking, okay, you gave us X amount worth of tokens. Well, shoot, that means nothing to us. We don't know about trading this stuff, so they immediately cash out some of that. That would be normal. And maybe that's what's continued to put pressure on this. I like that it's starting to slow down here, but I'm still seeing a trend downward. And so I'm looking for this to get some more in. I sold at, unfortunately, I was holding here, and I didn't sell till I realized that this need was going to happen. It was right about here. Prices were right about there. The timing was about 2 weeks ago, so right around here, unfortunately for me. Prices have gotten even cheaper, which is fortunate for me because I do plan to buy some back in. All right, let's see what else is going on in the chat. How are you guys feeling about the drop in the market finally having a leg up today? Do you feel like this is the beginning of a bull trend, or do you feel like, this is just a fake out before it then kicks us a few more times and then it's ready to turn around? What are you feeling?
I know I personally am still feeling like pretty cautious, but as I said, I've said a couple of weeks ago or a week ago or whatever when Solana dropped under $100, I was like I didn't ever think I'd see Solana that low, and and I'm pretty new to the whole space, but even so, so now after having seen Cardano hit $3 and now down to $1 and Solana up at like 280 or whatever it is, under $100, I'm certainly a little bit skittish about everything. I'm certainly this is better than another red day, but yeah.
Yeah, it really is. This is usually the signal or the feeling you have at the end. When it starts to go up, you're still in disbelief that it's going to go up. And that's actually part of the market cycle chart, which I don't have pulled up because I didn't know we'd specifically be mentioning that. But the market cycle chart is when it starts finally to go up, people are still in disbelief, like, nah, it's just waiting to punish us some more. So these are all signals that we might be at that point. We might be at the end. But do prepared, like I didn't deploy all my capital that I freed up into these ones. I still have some of that on the side in case I get a chance to buy some more cheap, but I might be wrong on that. I might not get a chance to buy some more cheap. Now, I did want to take a second to show you Immutable X. This isn't their actual marketplace. This is Tokentrove, who made a partnership with Immutable X that you can buy right on it. And so I imagine they'll do more of these third-party deals. Immutable X also has their own marketplace, but you can come to Tokentrove and you can, like, Gods Unchained is on Immutable X. And why I want to bring this up is you'll be able to then buy on third-party sites as well. So I'm looking forward to when I can buy VV stuff on Tokentrove or on Immutable X's marketplace itself directly, right? So this is all transpired in on Immutable X. And so you can buy it in IMX, USDC, or Gods, or even ETH. So these are all listed. These prices, let me see. These are listed in Immutable X prices. And so we did look at the marketplace for Immutable X, and it does already have the Omi token on there in prep for you being able to trade right on Immutable X's website. All right. I wanted to share with you also while we're here, Tokentrove, this is the place I have been buying Embersword's land, and that's why I had it on Matic. If you go over to Matic, I have been scooping this stuff up because, around these prices in ETH. Now, ETH has actually come down, but these are right around the prices. I did get a few cheaper than this, around this, that I've been scooping up over the last 6 weeks. Embersword, we interviewed the founders probably about 8 months ago. This game has been in development for 3 years. They are closer to actually having a fully AAA level game released than just about anybody out there, because they've been working on it so solidly for 3 years. It looks very fun. If you liked RuneScape, I think you will love Embersword. In fact, the founders of this had one of the largest guilds in all of RuneScape, and they decided to make the RuneScape that they wish RuneScape was. and use the blockchain behind it. So I'm really looking forward to what this project has. All right, we just have a couple minutes. Let me jump into the chat some more. Continuation, unless the U.S. comes out with bearish news. Yes, that is a risk that if the U.S. goes really harsh, and there's some signals that they might come out really harshly against crypto, so be careful of that. It will drop the price down more. Yeah, definitely be careful with leverage, boys. That comes from Web Zombies. I had a really good question up there by Bob the Builder, a really good statement by Ricky Schmidt. We talk about selling when everyone is FOMOing in our community, and smaller channels are FOMOing into the Omi coin. Are the masses of crypto investors just missing this gem or not feeling bullish? I'm on board, exclamation point. Yeah, so the masses just miss this, right? Like Omi at the price that it's at, like, is not in the news. Who else is talking about it outside of us? Almost none of the major channels are talking about Ecomi, and they won't until it goes like 5 or 10 or 15x, and then they'll be like, oh my gosh, look at Ecomi. Oh, I think it's the best. Oh, it's a great buy at this price. And we're like, man, I'm up 15x. I'm at my first sell signal. Okay, thank you for talking about it, and thank you for talking people into buying it so that there's buyers that I can sell to, right? Because then you'll be in take profit zones. And so that's what thinking like an investor is like. And realize that a lot of content creators, they're just not investors. They're just people that have been in the space. Some of them are very good at talking. Some of their channels are really well produced. I look at them and they're like, man, they do a freaking amazing job at producing their channel. But they're just not investors. They don't think like investors. They never have. They're 3 years into their investor journey, right? And so, like, you know, thankfully, I started investing right out of the university level and been thinking about investing since I was like 14 years old. It's something I've always been passionate about, but my brain thinks economics 24/7. And so investing, I grew up really poor. I've shared this before, not extremely poor. Like, we had food. We just didn't ever have anything other than the cheapest food. And we didn't have a lot of options, and I dressed with secondhand clothes and went to school, and I got laughed at and, built character. So, like, I actually wish everyone gets the opportunity to be poor at least twice in their life because it develops so much character in you. So don't underestimate the value of being poor. But then how do you not be poor? How do you create options in your life? Because money is options. How do you learn to make money work for you? And that's been on my mind since I was 14 or 15 because I didn't like being poor. And I didn't always want to be poor. And I found out that there's these people called investors that learn to make their money make more money for them. And, my question is, wow, how do I do that? So that's been my lifelong pursuit, is figuring out how to effectively make my money make more money for me, and how do I weigh the risks and the rewards, and how do I not get wrecked. And I've gotten wrecked a couple of times in my life, and I've learned some very valuable lessons from those. And so that's what I try to share with you, because I've been on this journey for a long time. Doesn't mean I know everything. I still don't have a crystal ball that works. I can't see into the future. I don't know if we'll be in World War III in 2 months, and if we are, that's going to savage crypto prices. I don't think we will be, but it's always an option. And so we're just playing the odds is all we're doing. And we're trying to play the odds strongly to our favor. Thanks so much for joining us, everyone. I've really enjoyed today with you. Hope you've liked this show. If so, make it rain on that like button, or D has a different term for it. What do you say?
Gently caress the like button. Do whatever you want to the like button, guys. Like, just hit it, just smash it. I don't know. I get tired of the whole smash thing.
He gets tired. He hates the smash that like button.
I really do, yep. So we're going to make it rain on it today. Thanks, guys. Have a good weekend, and we'll see you next time.
We'll do it.
Came into the space chasing all of the gains, chasing the pumps and all of the hype trains. But like in life,